All right, folks. I just realized the last tape is probably dark a little bit because I forgot to turn on my light. But after turning on the light, that's probably not the best idea in the first place. So I went ahead and left the other one up. Um, what I wanted to talk about is a slightly different movement. We've been talking about slavery. We've been talking about religion, a few other things. There's a couple other things going on at this point. One is going to be the romantic movement, Romanticism, Transcendentalism. A few things fit in that. And what we're looking at is kind of a rebirth and understanding, a reinterpretation of what's going on. And so you get some major actors. You get Ralph Waldo Emerson. You get Henry David Thoreau. You're going to get Emily Dickinson. You're starting to look at Walt Whitman and Leaves of Grass. Thoreau is all about Walden and Walden's Pond. We're going to see the introduction of the idea of civil disobedience, which is kind of an old idea, really. It's about standing up. It's about disagreeing with the government, about disagreeing with some of the things that are going on and demonstrating. And that's important because we're going to develop an idealized idea of society, or absence from society in some cases, depending on which author you most believe in. What's important, though, is this movement, this civil disobedience, this religious movement, is going to feed into this growing abolitionist movement in the North. And so that's huge. Another big part of this is going to be the women's movement. You look at a few folks like Lucretia Mott, Elizabeth Cady Stanton. The document is dealing with the Declaration of Settlements, which is from the Seneca Falls Convention. And what it is there is something called a cult of domesticity. The idea that there is a women's sphere of influence, that women belong in the kitchen, they belong in the house, they are the queens of the house. But of course, they might be the queens of the house, but the king is king of the castle. And so the man runs the place, but the woman is responsible for it. It's her job to raise the kids. It's her job to take care of the house. It's her job to make sure the servants take care of the house. But it's to be done in the way the man says it should. And the problem is that women are going to rediscover things like the Declaration of Independence. They're going to discover that in spite of the fact that they have a place in society, they have no authority in society. That although they can influence their husband's decisions, they cannot legally make decisions by themselves. Another person that fits in this is going to be Susan B. Anthony, who is hugely important, but this is not just about women's rights, but it's also about the vote. We're also going to bundle in the whole abolitionist cause at this particular point. We're also going to push into this the idea that perhaps temperance, teetotaling, perhaps not drinking to excess is a good idea. And we're going to bundle that in. And that's, again, part of that moral suasion movement that I was talking about before. So there's a lot of stuff going on at this particular point, folks. One last person I wanted to mention is a man named Horace Mann. And the fact that you're listening to me go on and talk about history, well, you can thank Horace Mann at this particular point, because he is the person behind the public school movement. He is behind the education, or at least a minimum education of the people, so that they can make their own decisions, they can make their own judgments along that line. And so Horace Mann is going to be about free public education and instituting some of the very first, in some cases kindergartens, in some cases smaller schools, but about creating a certain structure, and definitely not a certain structure, because he wants it to be a little bit more open when it comes to education. All right, the last one I'm going to mention here is going to be William Lloyd Garrison and a couple other folks. And William Lloyd Garrison is going to be important at this point because he is going to create his own paper. He's going to create the Liberator. He's going to help to create the American Anti-Slavery Society. And what he's going to do is have this huge push for abolition. He is going to become the voice. And so with this, we're going to start looking at the further abolition movement. We're going to look at Frederick Douglass. We're going to look at Sojourner Truth. You're going to see the appearance of Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad. We're also going to have this big movement that's going to pop up about the free soil movement. So there's a lot of things going on at this particular point, folks. I know the last part feeds into slavery again, but it's still important. And the idea being is that there's a lot of things happening, and you want to make sure that you kind of keep abreast of the whole situation. It's not just slavery, pardon me, it's not just the other things that are happening, but there's a lot working all together. All right, I'll go ahead and turn you loose. Thank you.